the early 1980s, Yamaha were one of the first synth manufacturers to produce instruments that used removable memory cartridges. These innocuous little boxes contained extra sounds that allowed users to expand their sonic palette in an instant with third-party patches designed by professionals. Or if they felt confident enough to program the synth themselves, RAM variants allowed users to store their own sounds. This effectively kicked off the third-party preset industry that flourishes to this day. And for those of us who still use these vintage synthesizers, the memory cartridges still provide a convenient way to broaden our sonic arsenal. But sadly, like the synths they expanded, they are becoming increasingly rare, increasingly expensive, and in some cases, increasingly difficult to maintain. Some of the early cartridges featured batteries, in the same way that many early synths did too. And like those synths, they eventually require replacing, something that isn't always practical or possible. To address these concerns, a handful of developers have created new alternatives to not only replace the old cartridges, but deliver vast improvements that the originals were never capable of. One such developer is Hypersynth. They have produced a range of cartridges known as HCards that deliver all the functionality of the originals but with vastly superior capacities and no reliance on batteries of any kind. Their latest offering is the HCard-705 Pack, a set of 2 cartridges designed to work with the rare and sought-after Yamaha DX1 and DX5 synthesizers. These synthesizers came with a set of 3 cartridges as standard, 2 containing the factory voices, 128 in total, and 1 containing a set of 64 performances. These performance patches utilised the dual synth engines found in these synths and allowed users to create performances using layers or splits and apply a unique set of parameters to them. The HCard-705 set fully replaces these original cartridges and, for the very first time, provides 2 new third-party voice banks and a full bank of new performances based on them. It is most likely that, down to the fact that there were only 140 DX1s ever made, and at my best guess around 3,500 DX5s built, that there has never been a commercial third-party sound collection for either of these instruments since their launch in 1983 and 1985 respectively. As well as these new banks and the original factory banks provided by Yamaha, the HCard-705 set also comes preloaded with some of the finest DX7 sounds that are widely available on the internet these days. Hypersynth have curated the cream of the crop, all available at the touch of a button. There's also plenty of space for you to save your own creations, both voice and performances, as each card can store 400 banks in their non-volatile memory. The cards draw their power from the synth and feature a small 2-digit LED display, with a button either side of it to allow the user to flick through the banks. Long presses of these buttons allows the user to skip either 10 or 100 banks at a time, and dots on the LED screen show which set of 100 banks you are currently accessing. No dots means you are on banks 0 to 99. A single dot to the far right means you are in banks 100 to 199. A dot in between the 2 zeros signifies banks 200 to 299, and a dot in between and to the right means you are in banks 300 to 399. There are also 3 coloured LEDs, white, red and blue, underneath the minus button, that convey information such as memory protection activation. There is also a micro USB port on the left of the cartridge, which is designed to only be used with the forthcoming H display. It must not be used to connect to a computer or mobile device. Using the cartridges couldn't be simpler, and you will soon get used to navigating them and accessing your sounds quickly and easily. As with the original Yamaha cartridges, each cartridge is labelled A or B. It is important that you make sure the cards are positioned in their corresponding slots so that all the performance patches work correctly. Also, the DX1 and DX5 can only load performance data through cartridge slot A. This is a limitation of the original operating system. For this reason, HCard-705A ships with banks 0 to 199 in the voice format and banks 200 to 399 in the performance format. The formatting of banks is also completely manageable by the end user, so they are fully capable of reformatting any bank in either format, providing they have turned memory protection off on their chosen cartridge. Simply select the bank you wish the instrument to access by touching the plus or minus buttons. However, when accessing the new Hypersynth performance patches, you will need to choose specific banks on the cartridges depending on which performance number you want to access. This is because the Hypersynth performance patches are designed to access the sounds from the cartridges only, unlike the factory performances that access internal and cartridge memory at the same time. Hypersynth made this decision to program their performances in this way to avoid overwriting the internal voices. This means that you can switch between factory or Hypersynth performances with less swapping around of sounds. To install the Hypersynth performances, you first need to disable internal memory protection. First, press the function button, then P7, followed by No. Next, select the Hypersynth performance bank on the A cartridge by choosing bank 399, and then press P6 until Load All Voices appears on the display. Press No twice until the display reads Load Performance Memories from X to A. Press Yes, then press No in response to the question asking if you want to change your mind. The display will now read Load Performance, Insert Cartridge in A. Press Yes, then Yes again when the screen displays ready. The display should then read Load Completed. Press the function button again to exit function mode. To play the performance patches, simply select them as normal using the performance memory buttons. Remember that the cartridges must both be set to bank 0 to access the first 4 banks of performances, then bank 01 on both to access the last 4 banks. Finally, to access all the other supplied banks, or ones you have saved yourself, simply choose the required bank and then the desired playback mode on the synthesizer, be it single, dual or split. The HCard-705 set is available to order now while stocks last from hypersynth.com.